This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1812, Loki episode 1 spoiler review, and comic talk. I'm Chris Eberly.
Hey, Shane.
I'm Shane Kelly. I thought I was last for some reason. Unbelievable.
And I'm DB Cooper. And I'm Ian Levinstein.
Every time. And what's going on with Ian? He's not going. Huh? Still? I don't know what I'm doing. I just forgot.
At least this time I kept the wire in, so that was its own fail last time around. But as usual, professionalism. Hey, guess what? It's right out the window.
But
Hi there,
gentlemen,
I'm Shane Kelly. Well, that's me.
Be that as it may, it's damn good to hear and see you both again.
Yes.
Sorry, folks. Park's closed.
Oh boy, man!
I went down a whole Wally World avenue there.
I know you were wallying, but I did just book my Magic Kingdom ticket for when I'm down in Florida in July. So I'll be returning to the land of the Disney, all Disney for the first time in quite some time. So that'll be fun.
Ian, is everything going to be open?
Pretty much so. Down in Florida now, at least when it comes to the parks, they're only requiring masks when you're indoors. So like indoor rides, you'll have to wear them. Outdoor, you're fine.
Stores.
Yep. And I booked Universal as well, so I got to do that. I get to do the Harry Potter park and the Simpsons for the first time. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
I have not been to Universal since my honeymoon, and that was before Marvel Islands of Adventure and all that. So it's been a long time since I've been at Universal.
Oh boy, yeah, no, you should try to go sometime within the next 2 or 3 years before they're forced to get rid of Springfield, because their contract with the Simpsons is soon to be up.
Okay.
And who owns the Simpsons?
Yep.
So,
Disney.
Exactly. So fully expect that to get integrated into like Hollywood Studios or something like that once the contract is up. But I'm looking forward to drinking a Duff at Moe's.
Bon voyage, brother. Bon voyage.
Indeed. Yep. And welcome one and all to the show. Feels like it's been quite some time, because for us it has been quite some time, but plenty of content for you fine folks the past couple of weeks, and hope you enjoyed it. And a special thank you, as always, to you, the listeners, over at patreon.com/comicgeekspeak. That's right, you, the listeners, pew, 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 lasers, for supporting us as you have over these last couple of months. We're at 112 patrons at $316 per month, all going towards the cost of the show and making this thing bigger and better every single week. And we very much appreciate your continued support there. Anybody who would like to donate as little as $1 a month can do so over at patreon.com/comicgeekspeak. And we thank you very much for your continued support in any way.
Here.
You guys are awesome.
Ian, let me add to that. Pew, pew, pew.
For you audio listeners, Chris has props. Well,
old friend James Tiberius Kirk, circa the Mego years.
I figured the closest I could get to having me Funko Pops was to have them on my shirt today. So that's what I decided to do, and it was going with the theme as our main topic of conversation today. Those of you who have not listened to our reviews of the last couple of Marvel shows on Disney Plus would know that we do go spoiler filled and in depth, usually on the first episode, and then from there we'll recap once the season has concluded. And we're gonna basically follow that same trend here with Loki, as episode 1 just dropped the day before we were recording this. And we're gonna go ahead and go in depth and spoiler filled for that first episode. May get a chance of Murd joining later in the episode, but if not, we'll get his take next episode and just get his quick summary of everything that went by. But Chris, I'm going to start it off with you. Initial thoughts on the third offering for the Marvel Disney Plus shows with Loki.
Honored, Al Levinstein. Honored. Thank you. Well, you know what? I loved it, even though in some ways it didn't grab me as much as the previous offerings. But what I love the most about it, and this is what I think is the key to the success of this whole universe, is that they're emulating the tone of comics, and that this show is totally different from the other two shows.
Yes.
And it has a totally different feel to it. The everything about it is different. And while at the same time reminding us that, especially with all those flashbacks, when he sees the memories of like the true Loki timeline, that it's still rooted in this grander Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think there are elements of it that were a little slow, but I also was watching it. I was very tired. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm a teacher, so I was exhausted. But so I'm definitely going to watch it again. And I have a little more energy. But I was thoroughly entertained, and most importantly, it's so great to see Tom Hiddleston once again inhabit that role. That's the main draw for me, because he's so good at portraying what I imagine Loki to be as a three-dimensional character before me on a screen. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm really interested to see, like with all these shows, where it's going to go. And furthermore, I really want to see, I would think inevitably, how he's going to thoroughly turn the tables. Because there was, and part of it's because I just have a natural suspicion of bureaucracies. There's something about the time variance that I found actually, how do I put this? Off-putting and a little creepy.
Yes.
So, and I'm interested to see how they explore that more. But that's I'll talk more. That's just my initial thoughts.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely picked up on that as well. Especially since we don't know where they are. We don't know whether this is the far-flung future, whether this is some pocket dimension, or whether this is whether these guys are even human. Like, we don't know. Yeah. We don't know anything about that.
It could be some kind of LMDs for all we know.
Exactly. One of them doesn't even know what a fish is. So that wasn't just a joke. That was a comment. And I'm very intrigued, to say the least. But Shane, let's go ahead and get your initial thoughts.
I enjoyed it. I agree with Chris. It didn't bowl me over as much as the first two did, but I also like that it's quirky and its own thing, completely different. I got a very much kind of a cross section between Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie with a little bit of The Fifth Element in there. The weirdo sci-fi stuff in both of those kind of merging into this world that Loki's in. I like that we're visiting a Loki that did not come about to be sort of a hero, that we're still in the world of Loki thinking he is a villain and bad and does bad things, even though now we know he says he doesn't like to do certain things. But I'm curious as to where the villain of the story is going to come from, and if they are what they are, how they're going to explain that. I have my theories in some way, but I'm curious to see where it goes, because I don't know that any of these characters that we were introduced to really are none that I'm familiar with in Marvel comics. So I'm curious to see how much comic information they put in, but use it to their own Marvel Cinematic Universe ways, which they do beautifully to me in almost anything they do. So I enjoyed it. The boys and I watched it. They liked it. One of them asked a few questions because he wasn't 100% sure of the timeline. So I kind of, in a very Back to Future kind of way, explained why we're looking at this Loki the way we are and where he's from with all the movies. But it was good. I liked it.
So the first appearance of the Time Variance Authority, looking it up here, was in Thor. It was issue 371, and it's a Simonson issue. It's written by Walt Simonson with Sal Buscema art, and the title is called Peace on Earth.
Interesting.
Yep, and both Justice Peace.
Oh, that's right. I remember that issue. Okay, he's like a judge. He's like a Judge Dredd ripoff.
Yeah, exactly.
What year was that?
That was that was the 80s. That was 86.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
September 1986 was when that first premiered. And yeah, I to say the least, I think the Variance Authority is getting a little bit more play than Justice Peace. But that's
of course.
that's beside the point. So I enjoyed this a lot. I think Doctor Who called they want their show back in some ways, because this is
I'll put that in there too.
Very, very like I'd say Davies era Doctor Who with a little bit of like Moffat thrown in there. Definitely reminiscent of that in feel and tone, with the wibbly wobbly timey whiminess of it all, especially. But I was intrigued. I love time travel to begin with.
I do too.
I mean, our missing member probably likes time travel probably a little bit more than I do, but it's one of those things. You give me alternate realities, you give me time travel, I'm in. Even if the time travel physics doesn't make any sense, and even if the alternate reality physics doesn't make any sense, it doesn't matter because time travel and alternate realities are all made up anyway. So at least that we know of. I mean, you never know, but still.
Well, and if we do know, everyone look to your left in 30 seconds to see if one of us pops up.
Well, clearly it didn't happen, or did it? I'm digging the whole like master timeline thing, and that's really what I'm wondering the most about, because I have so many questions about which timeline would even be considered the quote unquote master timeline at this point. Because when you think about it, in Endgame, not only did the Avengers accidentally create this, blipped version of Loki, but they also killed a Thanos that wasn't their Thanos, but was a previous timeline's version Thanos that died in their timeline.
But after their Thanos had already died too.
Exactly. So that created a whole separate timeline out there.
Not to mention what Steve Rogers did.
Did.
Well, he corrected almost everything because he put it all back where it belonged.
Yes, but then he started a whole new life for himself when he got together with Peggy.
Exactly. But then what's his name in the show said that turned out the way it was supposed to.
Oh, yes.
So all of that happened the way it was meant to be.
Yeah, which still has like implications and confusion and waving it away. But I'd say the biggest moment in this entire first episode where I got the feel of the show was when Loki opened up that drawer to try to get the Tesseract back.
Yep.
And there were just infinity stones just sitting there in the drawer. We use those as paperweights.
Yep.
Like, okay, so we're past that phase. Like,
and they have absolutely no power in there whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which also begs the question: are these master timeline Infinity Stones that have been taken out of time, or are these alternate reality Infinity Stones? Because one thing that we learned in the Marvel comics is that the Infinity Stones only work in their given reality. We had that happen actually during my shirt during Secret Wars. And the lead up to it, where they tried to use the Infinity Stones from other galaxies in their own, in their own version of the of reality, and it didn't work because it was attuned to that specific reality. So is that why the Infinity Stones don't work, or is it just the fact that magic doesn't seem to work where they are? I don't know.
Now, the Infinity Stones that are in the comic versus the movies, are they different colors for their powers?
I believe so. I mean,
well, if Murd were here, he'd say, first of all, they're gems.
Yes. Well, that's true. That's true.
That is very true. That's very true. And they continue to be gems no matter what the movies say. But they were all different. I mean, I remember the image of the gauntlet and them all having like different colors. And plus, I remember in the Marvel Superheroes fighting game, they were all different colors. And each one had, different powers according to the color.
Like I'm wondering if they do end up using these stones at any point during the show in their respective universes chasing after the big baddie. I'm wondering if they have different powers than what we would normally be used to.
It's certainly possible, yeah. If they are, other reality versions of them, that's gonna. And for that matter, with all this Loki timey wiminess going on, like we don't know which timeline he's even going to be cleaning up. Whether it's ours or whether it's some other timeline. Very interesting, very intriguing. That's what has me the most here. Also, the style of the show. I'm loving the shots so far. Like very cinematic, like open scapes, and the technology is super cool.
Yet still being in the 70s and 60s.
Exactly. Yep.
Well, the instructional film.
Oh, loved it.
That he's compelled to watch.
Yep.
Which is just scream 1950s. I mean, that was fantastic.
Loved it.
And I'm bringing up on the screen here. Owen Wilson in this is doing his best John Slattery. Like,
yes, he is.
He just looks just like him. And if not for the nose, when the trailer first came out, I actually thought for a minute, oh, hey, they're bringing back, Daddy Stark. Like, okay. Oh no, that's Owen Wilson. Okay. So I guess a completely different character. But yeah, he's got that style and 70s, pastiche going down very well. And it really works on him. He looks good.
The kid said to me, what else has he been in? Because they kind of recognized him a little bit, but they couldn't put their finger on it. And I said, well, he was the voice of Lightning McQueen. And like, oh, that's it.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Wow. You just got to do that over and over again.
Yeah.
You want to do Owen Wilson, just say the word wow long enough until it loses all meaning, and then you become Owen Wilson. But I don't know. It's just there's something about this that intrigues me, probably even more so than the last one did. I mean, I know I was a little more lukewarm on the way that Falcon and Winter Soldier ended than you guys were, but it is what it is with that. We just lost Shane.
No, I'm here.
Oh, there you go. Okay, good.
I was fixing something.
Sweet relief. Sweet relief.
No worries. But yeah, I think it might just be the sci-fi aspect of it. Like maybe that's what I'm drawn to more about this show than Falcon and Winter Soldier. When Falcon and Winter Soldier was just straight, espionage thriller.
Well, go ahead, Shane. I'm sorry.
Well, and that's what I wanted out of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I didn't know what to expect from WandaVision, and I certainly had no clue where we were going with Loki. So I'm thrilled that they're offbeat sci-fi weirdo funky stuff going on. It's fun.
And it's also appropriate because if you look through the history of the Thor comic, going back to the Kirby era, it was often wrapped up in like, high concept science fiction, even back as far back as the 60s. So, and in the Thor movies, they've established that, well, they're not really gods. They're just really, really old aliens that, Vikings
live a long time.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's why it was amusing Loki kept proclaiming, like, I'm a god, how can you do this to me? And they're like, no.
I kept waiting for Owen Wilson to go, you're not really.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that Owen Wilson's character was essentially just doing one giant like therapy session with Loki the entire time. Like trying to get him to admit his flaws and his feelings, and that he's not quite the man that he makes everybody believe he is. And I was trying to get the name of Owen Wilson's character because I kept forgetting it. What is it? Mobius M. Mobius, which is an existing Marvel character that was a member of the Time Variance Authority. Many times over the years. First appearance in Fantastic Four, number 353 by the one and only Gruenwald.
Wow.
Yep. Back in 1991.
Well, and as part of that therapy session, when Loki watches to us, it's film clips, right, from all these different movies, showing his trajectory as he starts to become,
loved it.
A more heroic or character, a character who's more willing to sacrifice. What I'm really interested to see is this Loki, who, like you guys said, is the Loki who's trying to, free humanity from the anguish of choice in the original Avengers film.
Yeah.
I like how recapped his whole vision essentially.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see how this Loki will now conduct himself now that he saw what happened. And because inevitably it's not going to be the exact same thing.
No.
So
of course not.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they then take this version of the character. It's a great device to bring back, one of the most compelling characters in the whole MCU.
Oh, but sure. I also absolutely love that no matter what point we're looking at Loki, whether it's crazy evil Loki, kind of redeemed Loki from Ragnarok who ended up dying, or what's to come Loki, I do like that no matter what happens, when it comes to his adoptive mother, it grounds him a little bit. And he really does become sensitive to what happens to her and his relationship with her,
and even Odin, because when Odin's fate came up from Ragnarok, you could certainly see that affected him deeply.
Sure, but I think his mother's just a little bit more.
Think back to Dark World and how he reacted to her demise there.
Yeah, but I absolutely love that, because I'm not sure that he, in the original timeline before Endgame happened, and Infinity War, I'm not sure that Loki ever realized it was him that caused her death until he saw this.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's never came up.
Like I can't ever remember Thor saying, "Well, because you let this guard in, this is what happened to our mother," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
It is interesting, and also it leads me to wonder just how it's going to affect this Loki's psyche. Yeah. Whether he's going to try to be a better Loki or whether he's going to try to be a worse Loki, to be honest. That's
probably going to be tied into this whole driving arc of the story, which is, are they hunting down another version of Loki from like the 16th century who's, basically a serial killer?
Yeah.
And my question is, because we did notice on his identity card that gender was listed as fluid, as is the case with Loki on a regular basis.
Yep.
Which Loki is the villain?
That's
here?
A great point.
Whether or not, we are going to go full Doctor Who here, and get a little bit of Missy action going on, and get female Loki as the villain, while male Loki has to try to track her down.
And we have to remember the classic JMS Thor run, which if you haven't read and you're a Thor fan, is mandatory.
Fantastic.
He explores, the female version of Loki. So Ian, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
that could very well be.
And also, for all we know, that kid could have been Kid Loki.
Well, I thought of that. I did think of that.
Yeah. I mean, what if literally everybody we've seen character-wise that wasn't a member of the Time Variance Authority so far has just been Loki? Like, it's certainly possible. The Master of Mischief himself, he could be absolutely anything. It's just it's the way it works. Yeah.
I do like when he first got back into that room that he was being interrogated in. Before he watched all his clips and he's trying to do some powers, he gets the neck thing off and he sends the guard wherever, and then he still realizes the Infinity Stone, the Tesseract, really does nothing in here, and he just kind of sits down defeated on the floor for a couple seconds.
Yeah. No, that's pretty great. Pretty much anything inside of the inside of the Time Variance Authority was excellent, but that was like that one moment where you're just like, huh. So none of my bag of tricks is actually going to work here.
Yeah.
So what now?
I even liked when he was in a queue waiting to be judged, and he sees the previous guy go, "Well, I tried to get a ticket, but," and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," and he starts scrambling around to find the ticket he's stuck in his pocket.
Looking at the image of what Mobius Mobius looks like in the comics, actually pretty close. Looking at it here, it's not quite, but same general look, same general idea.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a lot more 70s in this than he is in this version, but it's
that mustache is very 70s.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But and maybe a little bit more widow's peak going on in the comic book version than we get out of Owen Wilson. But they actually did their job to try to get that.
Actually, he looks a bit like Mark Grunwald.
Yes. In fact, actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I did read that the character was based on him initially. So that's a very, very good point. Yeah.
And is the name a tribute to the legendary French comic book artist?
That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, come on, it's literally Mobius and Mobius. Like, what other Mobius can you have outside of Mobius?
Or a chair.
Or yeah. Let's discuss the other character that showed up in this episode, which will probably have major ramifications eventually, and that would be Judge Ravana. Ravana being a major character in the life of one Kang the Conqueror.
Oh God, that's right.
Really?
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Oh, I totally missed that, Ian.
Yeah.
Well done.
Judge Ravana is introduced in this episode.
No, she's Kang's great love.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, we are supposed to be getting Kang in the Ant-Man movie, but are we getting him sooner?
God, that'd be great if he was like the special thing at the end.
Oh, absolutely. Or if he's one of the driving forces of this.
Well, one thing I have to. This leads me to one of my, peanut gallery hypotheses. Are the timekeepers actually real, or are they merely a front for somebody or something else? Because the whole way it's set up, it just seems too well structured, and you get the sense that all the people working for the time variants, if they're even people, they're just kind of in step with some structure that they probably don't even question.
Well, or even know about. They might think they're doing good, but really they're doing something for
And
Kang.
then when you drop a Loki who is chaos into, like, he personifies that, and drop him into that, is he going to disrupt the entire construct, so to speak?
So here's something that I was theorizing, and this might be a little bit too comic book, so it may not actually be the case.
Impossible on the show, my friend.
No, I know. I'm just more talking Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like this might actually be a little bit too much. But what if the Time Variance Authority is run by a Mortis? Not Kang, but a Mortis. And then we get Kang in Ant-Man, who's trying to create Quantumania, because that's literally the name of the movie, because of something that Immortus wronged him on.
And Immortus and Kang, Murd is better versed, but I believe they're the same person.
They are, yes,
right, but
different,
across vast stretches of time and all that.
Which then makes me wonder, if we're doing Kang and we're doing Immortus, do we then get Avengers Forever as the next?
Which would then allow them to pull in characters who are either dead, or from or who are no longer, like Steve, who's no longer an Avenger, but they can bring. Oh, Ian, you should be in charge.
Or possibly,
that's a great idea.
Combined Avengers Forever with my shirt, and we get Secret Wars.
That's a great concept.
Yeah. There's so many ways you could go with this.
Because then you could bring Iron Man back, right? You could bring back Black Widow. You could bring back different versions. I mean, Avengers Forever, if members of the audience hasn't read it, is easily one of the greatest Avengers stories of all time. We did a 2-part book of the month on it years ago when Timmy was still with us, and that. Especially since they've established, we got over 10 years of movies and television shows, they could actually make that story now.
Oh, sure.
And it would work. They just adapt it to what they've done in the cinematic universe, but it would totally work. Ian, you should be in charge.
Meanwhile, there's Marvel people hearing this going, oh my God, we got to change this.
I mean, even if it's just in general a Kang Immortus war going on, because Immortus and Kang also have their ties to a certain Fantastic Four, which was supposed to be introduced.
Well, Kang may be a far future and descendant of Doom.
Exactly. And I would not be surprised if that's our first reference to Doom in Ant-Man. if we get a hint dropped perhaps at his lineage, even as just a throwaway gag, and then we eventually get Doom, in the Fantastic Four movie, that'd be pretty damn awesome.
Richards.
God, I still want them to write that the Fantastic Four bought Tony Stark's tower.
I still think it's going to happen.
Yeah, you've been saying that for years, Shane.
Got to be happening.
It's going to happen. It's either going to become 4 Freedoms Plaza or the Baxter Building. It just makes too much story sense for it to be anything else. But also this leading into Multiverse of Madness, which is another reason why I'm so sad. I mean, look, it had to happen, but that we're so far behind on the movies coming out now that like all these hints being dropped for setup.
Right, because they're mentioning the multiverse heavily now in Loki. So
yeah,
exactly.
They're going to pursue that.
Right.
Now, I know Marvel's always had a multiverse in spite of what people would say or they'd write about. No. It disappoints me so badly that Marvel can do a multiverse correctly and we're still waiting for it in DC movies.
Now, okay.
Anyway, that's another topic.
Right, but because you mention it, I have to bring up a certain image for after we're done talking about this. But yeah, it's something that I very much wish that the movie side of DC was able to do better, even if we did get an amazing Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover.
Sure did.
On the TV side. So, you can't win every battle, but at least we got something, Shane.
Oh, you're right. Oh, you're absolutely right. And I was happy with it. It was fun.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. So do you guys have any theories as to where we could possibly be going here outside of what's already been mentioned?
Until you said about the female Loki possibly being the villain, which I love that idea, I actually thought if this Loki that we're following turns out more like the Loki that died in Infinity War, that when they capture the vicious evil Loki and pluck him in the alternate timeline Loki's place to then eventually die, then we're still stuck with a redeemed kind of Loki that can still be out there in the world, in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But that seems a little simplistic for what we're looking at now.
Well, Shane, I would say this. I mean, I think it's a safe bet that however this is going to end up, we're going to get more Tom Hiddleston as Loki, because he's too good as the character.
Yeah.
And the Thor film they're making, which will feature Natalie Portman as the new Thor.
They actually just wrapped filming on that about a week or two ago.
Oh, wow.
Terrific. Yep. So I don't know if Loki's going to be in it, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was in it.
We do get the return of Sif. That is Karen. That is actually.
Oh, that's long overdue.
Goodness.
God.
God, I would watch a Sif movie.
Long overdue.
Agreed. Yes.
Because they never. I mean, they have to explain like where the hell was she during all these cataclysmic events.
Absolutely. Well, she was busy filming an NBC show. That's
yeah. I absolutely love, and it comes up on Facebook every now and then with Brad posting it. Brad Milo's pick when he ran into her one time at the gym.
Yes.
Love
I remember that.
Love it.
When she was filming the what is the show called again? Blind Spot, I think, or something like that. But yeah. She was filming in his area, and they ran into each other. So cool. Yep. But I
think the last time she appeared as Sif was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., wasn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
That's right.
Yes,
okay.
the show that Marvel has done their best to write out of continuity.
I haven't finished watching it.
Oh, this last season. Oh,
it was good, huh?
Just so much fun.
I'm literally 3 seasons behind, maybe 4.
Oh my God.
So I need to catch.
I'm behind too, but I heard rumors they're bringing Coulson back.
I hope so.
Well, yeah, there are rumors of that. I mean, he did come back once already, but that was in flashback form in Captain Marvel.
But you just get the sense that the Avengers still think he's dead.
Yes.
Literally in this show, they brought that up that he killed Coulson. There was no reference to him coming back.
No,
there was reference to him killing him.
Everybody except Nick Fury and maybe Maria Hill know.
Oh, no, Maria knows.
Everybody else is still clueless as far as
So Shane, without spoiling the last season, because the show's over, correct?
Yep.
The last season, did you get the sense that it's not going to be included in what's going forward in terms of what happened there, or? I
would say so. Yes.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. But I know they went out of their way to not mention the blip in any way.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And there is a reason for that in my mind. And if you finish it and I remember this conversation. I'll explain why I think that. It's very well done. I have enjoyed Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the entire time. I've watched the entire show, but inevitably, every season, there's about half of it that I loved and about half of it that I was like, meh. This last season, I enjoyed from start to finish.
Okay.
There might
I'm
be just
a couple seasons behind.
just one episode that I was like, but for the most part, this entire last season was so much fun. And again, no, I don't even want to say that.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. And there's things that happen in this that do tie into a lot of different aspects of the Marvel. There's a lot of things that happen that are fun.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Fair enough.
Well, because the first few seasons of the show, it was heavily tied into what was going on.
Yeah. But
movie.
like so the first season, the first half of the season was good, but not great. Then they tied it into Winter Soldier and it was fantastic.
Yes, exactly.
And then the next season was Ghost Rider, the first half of it, which was fine, but I liked the second half of it better. And then the third season had something happen, but I liked half of it better than one. Like it's just the way it worked out. Like when they were in space, okay, I got kind of tired of that. But when they got back from space, I loved it. It's a great show. I think it's totally worth watching from start to finish. But I think that most of their seasons are half really good and half
well,
okay.
You reminded me to go on for a little bit of a tangent, but it was a outstanding show, but it was just too short. Was Peggy Carter? Agent Carter.
Absolutely.
That show was awesome.
Yeah. And I'm beyond glad that they've continued to have her be in things past that we got Jarvis in Endgame, that we've gotten references to that show way more than we've gotten references to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because nobody from that other than Coulson has shown up anywhere.
Right.
So
I don't think that was the original plan years ago when certain things were announced. I thought
no, you're right. Yeah.
Some of them were going to be in some of these movies. But
well, similarly, original plans were to have the Netflix characters be a lot more relevant. But now you can literally put them off into a side universe if you really want.
But may I make a comment about that, Ian?
Sure, right ahead.
Thanks to our old friends and agents in the field, Ryan Feeden and Dan Kangiller, are always feeding me multimedia information. There's a very strong rumor, you've probably heard this, Ian, that the Punisher is going to appear in Moon Knight.
Yes, I've heard that rumor. Yeah. There's also the rumor of Charlie Cox showing up in the Spider-Man movie.
I heard that too.
Yeah, all of these are rumors. They're strong.
They're strong,
and I hope that they do come to fruition. But
to me, if you can keep J.K. Simmons, if you can keep him secret, you can do anything with some of these Marvel Netflix characters coming in.
Well, and we're also maybe give or take a week or two away from the first trailer of the upcoming Spider-Man movie coming out. They've said that we're pretty close to the trailer dropping. And I think with that trailer drop, they may very well give us a reveal of at least a character just to confirm a little bit of the story. If they do that, I almost guarantee you it's going to be almost a given that Charlie Cox will show up in the movie.
Well, I hope so.
Because what I was always dismayed by was the Netflix shows I thought were so strong. Even Iron Fist got much better in the second season, I thought. But the others were all sensational. And the actors they got to not use that part of this universe and bring it into other television shows and other movies, I just think it's utterly foolish.
Yeah.
I mean, those shows, I mean, were almost consistently superb.
And I still have to catch up on a lot of the later ones. I mean, I stalled out kind of halfway through them all, but everything I watched was fantastic.
if they do bring the Punisher to Moon, like John Bernthal, talk about just completely inhabiting a character.
Oh,
yeah. That was a tremendous performance.
It was excellent.
I mean, and let me tell you, go ahead.
I was going to say, and so was Mike Coulter with.
He was wonderful.
Luke Cage, he was fantastic.
And I was so disappointed because the way they ended the second season of Luke Cage, you wanted a third season to see what was going to happen.
Oh yeah.
So these were all wonderful shows, and again, because I have to keep praising him. Oscar Isaac, who I think is one of the greatest actors in film right now, and television for that matter, is playing Mark Spector, which is I know is confirmed now.
Yep.
And to see an actor of that caliber, because that's how I think good I think this actor is, to take on one of the most challenging roles of the Marvel characters, a role that can easily descend into parody.
Definitely, yeah.
But with him involved, I'm not concerned at all.
Yeah.
And then if they bring the Punisher into that, and you have actors of those caliber squaring off playing those kinds of characters, I'm interested to see if Disney's going to try to tone that down a little bit, because I hope not, because the Netflix Punisher show was extremely brutal.
Yeah.
As it should have been, because it was the Punisher.
I mean, if it was on Disney Plus, yeah, maybe they would, but I don't think
they're
going to do that for a movie.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
isn't Moon Knight going to be on Disney Plus?
Moon Knight is Disney Plus, yes.
Okay.
Moon Knight is Disney Plus, but I'm also thinking as we move forward with Disney Plus, I feel like they're getting a lot more bold with their Marvel choices, and
they should.
Even with this, I mean, this isn't for kids, you know.
Oh, right.
So like they can do like hard PG-13 and get away with a lot.
And you know what? A really good tell to that will be if the next Deadpool appearance, how that comes through.
Yes.
If they calm that down, well, then you know what's going to happen. But if they don't,
is that going to happen, or is that just rumored?
Deadpool 3 is confirmed. Deadpool 3 is happening. Whether it happens in a Marvel Cinematic Universe depends on whether my idea of him falling through a portal in the middle of Multiverse of Madness happens or not. I see like no other way of that happening, or in the Spider-Man movie. It's one way or the other.
Right.
Like it has to happen.
Now about Oscar Isaacs, you know, after he did Apocalypse, there's just no question what he can do. I'm kidding. That was terrible. not terrible because of him.
I enjoyed your straight-faced delivery on that. Well,
hey, look, every excellent actor is in a bunch of stinkers.
Oh yeah, and it's not his fault.
No, I know it's absolutely the fault of Fox for making a terrible movie. That's you know, they took the idea of Apocalypse and they made him into a Power Rangers villain. Like it was not.
Yeah,
it was Ivan Ooze out there. It was not Apocalypse. So that it is what it is. But bringing it back to our initial discussion for a moment.
I know we totally went off the rails there.
It's what we do.
Our hill, our beans.
Exactly. Michael Waldron is the writer of Loki and the writer of Doctor Strange. And
terrific.
In the Multiverse of Madness. So
nice. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So the guy who's essentially show running and executive producing Loki is the driving force behind Sam Raimi's Doctor Strange movie. So this is kismet here. It's all lining up. It's all connected. The ideas presented here are going to be ideas that are going to be followed up upon in the Doctor Strange movie. That's a given.
Wait, did you say Sam Raimi?
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I did not know, because I'm out of it.
Sam frickin' Raimi. Yes, Sam Raimi.
He's directing the Doctor Strange film.
Yes, the initial director dropped out.
I didn't know that. I thought it was somebody else. Okay.
Yeah, the initial director dropped out. I'd say maybe about a year ago. And they announced that Sam Raimi took his place. Let me see what the original guy.
Audience can tell I really don't pay attention on media posts.
Let's see.
But I count on Ian and our operators in the field to keep me informed.
Derrickson was the original director. Scott Derrickson was the original director. And he was the director of The Exorcism of Emily Rose, Sinister, Deliver Us from Evil, and he directed Doctor Strange, the original Doctor Strange. He dropped out, I believe, due to COVID reasons, just because he couldn't get things working the way that he wanted to. Dropped out, and they got Sam, and enough said. So yeah, his first official Marvel Cinematic Universe, movie, and I can't wait. And
I got this again from my dear old friend Dan in Pittsburgh. Did you hear the Black Panther announcement?
It's not official.
Okay, so you know where I'm going.
I know where you're going.
Yep.
It is a rumor, but it's a strong rumor.
It makes perfect sense.
But it's from a rumor website. So that's why I need confirmation from, say, like Hollywood Reporter or Marvel itself.
Right.
the big rumor going around.
Imperious Rex.
Exactly, that they've cast Namor for the next Black Panther movie.
Oh wow.
And again, it makes perfect sense.
Of course it does.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, what you need sometime is to have one of these roving reporters come on screen in the little Kermit the Frog press hat gray coat with a little microphone like Sesame Street. Hi ho, this is CGF.
Oh my God! This just in! Breaking news! Breaking news!
Or just have him do the Muppet Show here on Coosbane.
Well, Ryan is a master of doing a lot of different voices. I'm sure he could pull them
Oh
off.
yeah. The director of this also directed all of it. So not even just like a different director every episode. Kate Herron is the name of the director of this, and she also directed Daybreak, and worked on, of all things, the Netflix show Sex Education, which is actually a really good show, but not at all what I would think of the person who's directing Loki. But you know, it all works out.
Well,
in the
Ian, I got to tell you, your hypothesis, I think, is just outstanding.
Yeah, I
really do.
Yeah,
especially since they didn't show the Loki, just the cloaked version.
Well, I'm talking about that, but also talking about your whole Avengers Forever arc. I think it's incredibly plausible.
I think it's very doable if you're working with time like this, and again, combining stories, because that's what they do here at the in cinematic universe. Like, Ultron, Age of Ultron was not the Age of Ultron story. They took the name and then they utilized small pieces of it.
They take facets from different periods of different titles, and
exactly.
They, for the most part, they put them together expertly.
Yeah.
And for longtime fans such as ourselves, it's a delight to point out all the different stories that they're respecting and borrowing from.
Definitely. I mean, if they were to take the idea of an Immortus Kang War and combined it with, multiverse convergence, then come on. You can't beat that. Any other thoughts on the show after this first episode? And otherwise, we can roll on to some other conversation.
Just that I enjoyed it, and I'm deeply intrigued. Again, to see how Loki is going to work his will in all of this.
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
I'm curious to see how he progresses through the show.
Yeah.
I'll just make one more statement. I had never recognized just how much Tom Hiddleston looks like the composite sketch of DB Cooper until they did that scene.
I love that he was DB Cooper. That was
God. That was tremendous. That was so great. Anybody who hasn't watched the Netflix the HBO documentary on DB Cooper,
it's a great mystery,
and the theories out there as to who it could possibly be. That's well worth a watch. But I love that they did that. It was so awesome.
And then it was a bet he lost with Thor.
Yes, and explaining the money, the burnt money, that washed up on the shore, being as part of being beamed back up by Heimdall. Good times. I remember back in the day there was a theory that on Mad Men it was going to turn out Don Draper was DB Cooper, and that was very much a fan theory that they never followed up on. I'm glad they didn't, though, because that would have been weird. All right. So
actually, could I announce something?
Yes.
Ryan also told me about that's going to be premiering on, since we're on this multimedia kick right now, on Hulu in September. Ian, do you know where I'm going?
I don't actually.
Really? Am I scooping you?
It's possible.
That's amazing.
It's possible I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm just not thinking September.
All right. So
I know
one of the greatest finite series in the history of American comics that we've talked about many times in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Brian K. Vaughan's Why the Last Man is going to be on Hulu in September.
Yes.
I didn't know it was on September. in Hulu.
FX in association with Hulu. Like anything that airs on FX airs on Hulu. Next day.
I think Ryan told me it was September 13th, if I remember correctly. I'm checking the date now from the text.
And this is a series that they tried to make 3 times.
Yeah. Oh, I knew that. It was around for trying to do it for a long time.
At one point, former podcaster and 10 Cloverfield Lane director Dan Trachtenberg was attached to it. And he then dropped out, and then they filmed the pilot, then they recast the lead, and then they refilmed the pilot, and now here we are finally with a full show.
And here we are with a legend entering.
What? Oh my
Thanks
God.
for joining. We've had a great time.
Good night, everybody. Everything's been great. Oh, hey, it's Murd.
Murd with his hair shorn.
Had to happen sometime.
Nice. You know what, Murd? We were just about to move on past Loki, but we can't do that before we get your thoughts on the most wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey Marvel thing that's come out so far. So please, Murd, your thoughts.
Yes. My thoughts, such as they are. Well, yes, I was able to watch the debut episode last night, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was, as you say, extremely timey-wimey. But I don't think the timey-wiminess has barely begun. I mean, we will be seeing much more mind-twistingly acrobatic experiments in cross-chronal time storytelling to come. But the first episode, and rightly so, was really more about character than it was about the mind-bending mechanics of time travel. We'll get to that later. But yes, already I can see that this is a perfect vehicle for the Loki character as the MCU has built it. I'm just pleased as punch to see the time variance authority being used in some other media. This is a concept we've known about since the early 90s, late 80s, I think. Walt Simonson came up with it, that much I know. Mm-hmm. And it's basically this sprawling cosmic bureaucracy of timekeepers. It's been visualized in the comics as basically just a bunch of free-floating, just row upon row and column upon column of anti-gravity desks with little pencil pushers scribbling and tapping at keys and just keeping track of an infinite variety of time streams and tributaries, just stretching off as far as the eye can see in all dimensions, in 3 dimensions of space. And I think the visualization they went with for the show is actually even better than that. It's not quite so overtly surrealist, but it is still very impressive. And I love the production design for all the TVA stuff. It's just so sensationally, soul-squelchingly mid-20th century. You really get the sense that you're in the bowels of a vast, plodding organism whose sole purpose in existence is to keep the story straight. It's a group of continuity cops, basically. And it was kind of created by Simonson with one of my heroes, Mark Gruenwald, in mind. As a matter of fact, the character being played by, whichever
Owen Wilson.
Yeah, it was one of the Wilsons. I wasn't sure which one. Thank you, Chris. With his mustache and his whitened hair, he even looks a little bit like Mark Gruenwald, which is by design because his character, Mobius M. Mobius, was directly based on Gruenwald's physical appearance. So yes, the TVA, I love the way they visualized it, just down to the most minute details, the little propaganda posters in the backgrounds, all the many different forms and documents littering every available surface. And I fell in love with Miss Minutes immediately, of course. That little animated sequence was a joy.
Yes, we completely forgot to mention that. Thanks for bringing it up.
Oh, my pleasure. Yes, and it's the voice of Tara Strong, no less.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it took me a minute or two to figure it out. At first, the accent threw me. I thought it might have been Grey Griffin. But then I realized that underneath that kind of heavy drawl, I was hearing kind of the warmth and intonations of Twilight Sparkle. So basically, Twilight Sparkle if she had been a Texas beauty pageant queen.
I'm going to have to go listen to that again now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the TVA, just despite its... the merits of its translation to the small screen here in and of itself, it's the perfect foil for a character like Loki. And you'd expect, there she is. Ain't she a peach, folks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Loki being a trickster god that he is, there's nothing better than a sprawling cosmic bureaucracy to really bring out the best and the worst in him as a character. For one thing, trickster gods in classic and modern mythologies just kind of exist to puncture self-important larger entities, whether it's a jackrabbit pranking a bear or a demigod like Loki getting a chance to take the starch out of the stuffed shirts of the TVA. It's just the trickster archetype exists to destabilize greater and perhaps less deserving structures of power in their world. And that's exactly what Loki seems to be fixing to do here. I mean, he both loathes the TVA and everything it stands for, and yet at the same time he's forced to respect it when he realizes just how vast in scope and power it is. And he opens a desk drawer and finds that it's littered inside with infinity stones. And that's when it dawns on him just how far out of his league he is. So first he hates it, and then he grudgingly respects it, and which of course feeds back in and causes him to hate it even more. So it's a glorious feedback loop. And so it's... I just kind of love the arc that we're already seeing with Loki in this show. Just how much of the hitherto unseen potential in his archetypal character that the TVA is already bringing out in him. So I expect in future episodes this is going to be a buddy comedy, and it's going to be a heist story, and he's both one of the cops and also the person perpetrating the heist. In fact, probably several different versions of him will be perpetrating a variety of different schemes. I'm not convinced that the main villain, as we're being conditioned to expect it here in this first episode, the one that Loki and Mobius are going to be going after, we're told that it's a version of Loki. It might be. It might not be. It might both be and not be. It's the potential for future narrative noodling is virtually limitless at this point. It's going to be a great deal of fun. It's going to be fluid and polyvalent. It's going to be many, many different things at once, which is exactly what one would expect from a story about a shape-shifting deity, after all. So yes, it's going to be great. I'm positive. And for a Grunwaldian such as myself, it's a true treat.
I am so glad you love it. I had thrown out the theory before you were on, two theories. One, female Loki is clearly the villain here, and let's see whether or not that is the case. The other is that it's going to turn out that Immortus is behind the Time Variance Authority, since we're getting Kang in Ant-Man, and then it all leads up to Avengers Forever. But,
I hadn't even heard that Kang was going to be in the next Ant-Man movie.
Yes.
Well, and Murd, did you catch who the judge was in this episode?
Oh, yes, in the credits. Her name is Ravonna.
Yeah, that's
the
Kang's lover.
Yes,
yeah.
the bride of Kang.
Yeah.
So that's another pretty important hint. And yes, Ian, the Immortus connection had occurred to me too. Speaking of Avengers Forever, a quote from Kang himself was ringing through my ears here, just speaking with contempt of his future self Immortus and how he's just obsessed with the kinds of things that the Time Variance Authority is doing here. Just reducing time to a bloodless meadow. I say, let it be a jungle. Let it be a battlefield. Yes, indeed. And I'm pretty sure that the Timekeepers, and that the character designs are just lifted right out of the comics, by the by, the Timekeepers. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be all they seem to be either. If we do get to meet them in this story, they're just going to be puppets of some other.
That's what we said. Yep.
Could very well be Immortus.
Yep.
And the fiend that they're chasing that keeps killing the Minutemen and stealing their time resetting devices, it might turn out to be Kang or an agent thereof, trying to turn time into a battlefield. It's pretty clearly leading, this, like WandaVision, is going to be leading into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That seems fairly obvious.
Oh, yeah.
You need a multiverse first of madness before you can visit it and have a movie about it. So
yeah, it's literally written by the same guy who wrote Doctor Strange as well. So yeah, they're tying into each other, definitely. All right, excellent. Well,
Murd, that criticism was just washed over me. I feel cleansed.
I adore that you were on just in time to give us your thoughts on that. I'm going to traverse the multiverse in a different way now. And bring up an image that came up on the internet earlier this week. The first image of Michael Keaton's Batman from the upcoming Flashpoint movie.
Wow.
Yeah, this is all they revealed. They did not reveal anything else other than his bat symbol on a bat suit with the blood dripping, reminiscent of the Watchmen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm less thrilled about that part of it, but and it plus it looks like strawberry jelly to me. But
I'm thinking of that water pistol from the Island of Misfit Toys, right?
yeah.
Clearly, he just had a fight with the Condiment King, and
Alfred packed him a PB&J and he slopped.
Picking horseradish out of his drawers for weeks.
I am very excited to see Michael Keaton reprise Batman in Flashpoint. I think that's awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially if an older Batman, reminiscent of a Dark Knight Batman, or possibly even a Terry McGinnis era. Batman.
I want Terry McGinnis era Batman.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. The other thing that we saw were the first shots of Shazam's new outfit in the upcoming Shazam movie. And if I can find a decent picture of it, I'll bring it up. But it's way less padded, because he actually went to the gym even further, it looks like.
Levi.
Yeah, Zach Levy looks buff as heck in these initial images as I try to find.
Is this for the Black Adam film or his own movie?
This is his own movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Shazam 2 Rage of the Gods or something like that.
But he is supposed to be in Black Adam, isn't he?
That's not confirmed yet.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if he is, because frankly, why wouldn't you? But
Put it as a cameo anyway. I get the feeling that the Black Adam movie is mostly going to be set in ancient times.
Yes.
But there's still room for a cameo by Captain Marvel, though.
Yep, definitely. But okay, here we go. Detailed look at Zach Levy's new costume. Okay. Found it. Haha. Internet sleuthing 101 here. All right, let's get a.
Nobody does it better, Ian.
Oh yeah, let's get that baby up. Get it up here. Share screen. Love it. Voila.
Wow.
Yep. That's our new Shazam. Needs a cape. That's the only thing I'll say. Otherwise, I actually like it a lot more.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, it's great.
Looks more like something that just came right off of a Golden Age comic book page.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I like we went from more like a fabric padding foaming look to something a lot more superhero-y. Kind of looks like the same material that Spider-Man's costume was made in the movies. And I was a fan of that. So this is perfectly fine for a superhero outfit.
Now, my only question with this picture is, why does he have an action figure stand beneath him, behind him?
Well, this was a set picture, so he's probably
He propped up somewhere.
Oh yeah, or this is just his action figure. I mean, it's one thing or another, It's just that accurate.
So many points of articulation.
That's from Hot Toys.
Hey, they're getting better and better. So
they absolutely are.
Oh my God, you never know. But yeah, those were the two big, I guess, the closest things to news that's come out. And really, at this point, I'm just jonesing for movies, man. Give me some movies, because it's been too long, and I'm thinking more and more that I'm probably just going to see Black Widow in the theater.
Oh, absolutely.
I've been considering it more and more. Well, because I mean, I could see it on my 4K TV, or I could just go to the darn theater, and that's. I feel like what better movie to get me back into the swing of things outside of Fast and the Furious 9, which yes, I will also be seeing in the theater because it's all about family. Is that so?
I want to correct that in my life, but I have not seen any Fast and Furious.
Nor have I
ever.
Wow.
Nor have I.
Okay. All right.
Not a single one.
Okay. I mean, they're stupid as heck, but they're so much fun. I hated the first one, like no joke. It actually took The Rock joining the family for me to actually really start liking it, and then from there I haven't missed one. I've gone to the movie theater for every single one of them ever since.
Yeah, it was the fifth one that introduced The Rock. Yes.
Yes, I believe so. Which was what, Five Fast, Five Furious? I think that was the title. No, that was the one that went back to being called Fast and Furious just to annoy people. That's good times. Oh boy. So meanwhile, what you guys been reading? How about that?
I got a pile here whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right.
Unless somebody wants to go first, I don't want to.
Well, you know what? I'll go first because I probably have the least.
Let's hear it.
I doubt that.
Fair, but it's something I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time. And again, 3-month window now on Marvel Unlimited, so I didn't have to wait that long. I read the first issue of X-Men Legends, the new series, X-Men Legends #1, written by Fabian Nicieza, with art by Brett Booth, bringing us back to the 90s, and Adam X the Extreme! And it was like coming back home, guys. It feels like Fabian Nicieza has not missed a beat. It is, if you had told me this was Uncanny X-Men number, 313, I would believe it. It's like it's set perfectly in that era, and it involves the Starjammers. It involves Eric the Red.
Wow.
Yep. Cable makes an appearance. Brett Booth's art is actually superb, and I'm not the biggest Brett Booth fan, but he works perfectly with stupid 90s costumes. And he's got all the belts where they're supposed to be on Cyclops' costume. I actually really love Havoc's 90s costume from X Factor, and he draws that lovingly as well. You get the Summers grandparents involved in this as they get stolen by the Shi'ar to try to coax both the Starjammers and Adam X out, and Hexaba is in it as well. She gets hired to try to track down Adam X the Extreme at one point, and the big reveal at the end is that yes, all these years of us speculating that he was at least related to the Summers, he's not the third Summers brother, but he is their half brother.
Of course,
he's the third and a half Summers brother.
Exactly. Yep. So it's 100% reveal, because how does it happen? Cyclops and Havoc fight off against Adam X, and their powers don't work.
Powers negate each other. Okay. Yep.
Exactly. And that's enough of a hint. And then literally like seconds later, out comes Daddy Summers being like, "Yep, he's your brother, but we got to take him away." And that's where the issue ends. And
who is his mother?
His mother. I'm pretty sure his mother is their mother. I think he's probably. I think it was their mother and a shield.
Okay.
That's what I think it was in the camps actually, where he was born.
Okay.
So when their mother was stolen by the Shi'ar,
right.
I believe that's when Adam was born.
Okay.
So yeah, but either way, excellent issue, excellent 90s pastiche. Got me everywhere I wanted to be, and it was like I was 13 all over again. It was fantastic. I had a great time with this, and I can't wait to read more in the series, including Peter David returning to X Factor soon. We have the Simonsons returning to their era of X Factor as part of this. It's some great creators coming back onto the X titles as part of the X-Men Legends series. So really, really, really looking forward to it all.
By the way, I wanted to take a moment because you mentioned X Factor. Murd, I've been meaning to compliment you. Some months back in your last time bubble, you did a magnificent critical analysis of X Factor #1.
Yes.
Which you so perfectly captured the fun of it, but also how totally absurd that story is as well. And Murd, I got to tell you, it's masterful analysis. Well done.
I thank you, Chris, but I tip my hat to you as well, because to all of you on this call, because by one of those strange little synchronicities that always pop up on the time bubble, you guys out of nowhere had started talking about X Factor #1 like mere weeks before I had intended to record that episode. So it helped to keep it fresh in my mind. So
well done, sir.
Admiration is mutual.
and as we've mentioned now, Murd side podcasts. A reminder for those of you who have not checked out the latest Crisis tape.
Oh, so good.
It is up on the feed right now, finishing issue 6. You're halfway there.
We'll see you in 20 years for the end.
Exactly.
Yes, Matt popped onto the forums for the first time in how many weeks to quip that our Crisis Tapes podcast will outlast the MCU. That's the glacial pace at which we're going here. Which we're better slowly than not at all.
Oh, I savor every moment.
Very true.
I'm looking forward to next episode, only getting through half of the cover
Yes.
of issue
Death of
7
Supergirl, yep.
and lasting 3 hours, because that's the way it works.
You can just about count on it, Ian.
Oh yeah, yep. And for that matter, congratulations to Mr. Peter Rios, as his daily Rios podcast just got to episode 500 over there.
Oh, terrific.
So,
Nice.
yep, he's been running quite some time at this point, and he's got tons of stuff over there. So if you're wondering about where Puppet Rios is these days, just go ahead and check it out over the daily Rios, and congratulations on the milestone.
Oh, here. Way to go, Peter.
Yes, indeed. All right, Chris, let's hand it over to you and go nuts.
All right. So past few weeks, I've made a point of trying to read as much as I could, first and foremost, and this is really all that matters. So the new Brubaker and Phillips Reckless graphic novel came out, Friend of the Devil. We talked about the first one, which came out at the very end of 2020. It was a nominee in OGN of the Year, or CGS Awards. This is the second volume. There's really nothing better. Again, taking on a lot of like sort of pulp novel themes. An investigator / troubleshooter, former '60s radical / FBI agent, dealing with LA cults, and like it's so good. It so captures a feeling at a time as only those creators can. This second volume takes place in the 1980s. The future of the genre is here in this type of format.
Mm-hmm.
So I praise this stuff so often, but it's because it's that good.
Yep.
So I also decided to kind of break my rule in a sense, out of respect for one of the top writers in comics, Jason Aaron.
Okay.
And I read Heroes Reborn #1.
Okay. Oh, good. Because I was really wondering.
Yeah, because I here it is. So art by Ed McGuinness, inks by Mark Morales. Hell of a team.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah.
Colorist Matthew Wilson, letterer VC's Corey Pettit. So great creative team. And I mean, I've loved Aaron's work since he did that great Vietnam War story, The Other Side, many years ago. And of course, Scalped is a masterpiece, and on and on. So I kind of sworn off a lot of the big events. I was just tired of it all. But I said, all right, it's Aaron, and it features Blade as a character, so I'll give it a try. So I also got issue 2, which I have not read yet. It's good because the creative team is so good, but I feel like I've read this story before. Okay. And I'll read issue 2, but unless issue 2 really grabs me, I'm not going to go beyond that. I love the concept because in the characters, it heavily involves the Squadron Supreme, of course, in this new reality that's been created. And Squadron Supreme, I think we're figuring into his Avengers run as well. So Murd, I think especially might enjoy that aspect of it. And again, I'm not
buying the series, Chris.
There you go. And I'm not poo-pooing it. It's good. It's just like, I feel like I've read this before.
Yeah. Now,
let's see where issue 2 takes us. So there's that. Now, but on the other side of this.
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about this in the preview. So Tim Seeley, Dan Jurgens.
Oh my God, yes.
Right. Scott Hanna inking.
Yep.
Chris Sotomayor colorist. Great team.
Okay. Marvel double action.
Yeah. So it's a offshoot of the Heroes Reborn. And as you know, whenever they do these big events, they have all these offshoot miniseries, which normally you never buy. But I decided, all right, they're paying tribute to one of the classic Bronze Age stories, but instead of Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy, it's Nighthawk and the Falcon. And I love the cover, again, the Bronze Age tribute. So then I opened the first page, and you guys may recognize this. It is a pitch perfect rendition of the first page of Amazing Spider-Man 121.
Oh, wow.
Just with different characters.
Yep.
And it goes from there. This is great because it's such a great tribute in tone, in the dialogue, the caption boxes. They've even got at the bottom, like in the Bronze Age, Marvel would post like advertisements of other comic books, like with like little euphoric blurbs at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
So they make up all these imaginary books from this Squadron Supreme universe you'll never actually read, but they're making references to the comics of that world essentially. Like relive the glory and take wing with the American Eagle. Read The Revenge of Apex in the Haunting Hour, issue 13. Like, Murd, you're gonna love this.
Oh, so they basically pulled one of my favorite things about the amalgam stuff, which is referencing series that don't exist. But
exactly.
Yeah, great.
So, and Jurgen's art style really captures that Bronze Age feel. This is a wonderful one shot. I can't recommend. Forget it. You don't have to read the rest of Heroes Reborn. If you just want to read this, you'll get it. It's just filing, Nighthawk and Sam Wilson as his partner.
That's high on my list of books to read. Definitely.
Yeah. No, we talked about in previews. I've always enjoyed Tim Seeley as a writer. They really deliver here. It's a great example of what you don't often see, which is a wonderful one shot. So there's that. Now, Shane, I especially think you would be interested in this. So I started reading War of the Bounty Hunters.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Now, first of all, it's excellent. I almost forgot how Steve McNiven is a tremendous artist.
Oh,
and yeah, I'd almost, because it's been a while for me, but to see his Boba Fett, let me find a good page here.
Mm-hmm. I was just reading a couple issues of New Avengers the other day with his artwork in it, Chris. I was reminded too.
It's
nice.
Breathtaking art. Like, here's Boba Fett after a battle with the organs of the person he just killed all over his armor. But this is the prelude issue. So it's all about, okay, and now the official sort of comic book canon of Star Wars, what happened between Empire Strikes Back when Boba Fett leaves Cloud City and going to Jabba's palace. So, and I read the first issue 1 of the miniseries, and then the Star Wars titles offshoot. There's a whole host of, all the Star Wars titles are involved in this story. I'm just going to read the main title and the Star Wars Monthly. But, it's immensely fun. It's immensely fun. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Stupendous artwork.
Yeah. So, and not to give too much away, but all I'll say is events take a turn where Boba Fett loses Han, and now he's trying to retrieve Han, and there's all these other forces in play, like all the other bounty hunters you wanted to see more than just those 30 seconds on the Star Destroyer deck. You're going to see them all here.
All right.
And it's excellent. If you're a Star Wars fan,
very cool.
I'm sure you're going to love this story. So there's that. Enough said.
Iron Man. Cantwell, Iron Man, best of Iron Man. So good, Iron Man.
If you love Iron Man, I've said this ad nauseum, right? And you haven't read this series, best Iron Man since Matt Fraction's run. Whenever they look back on the history of Iron Man, this series will be at the top without question. That this is epic, and plus the loving way he brings in a lot of second. Hell, even Frogman is in this story, and it's working.
But would this be the Frogman of the Animen, or
no, the Frogman with the kid with the eyes popping out of the mask, Murd?
Oh, right, okay, the fleet frog,
exactly,
Batilio.
Exactly. But I mean, the way he explores the Hellcat character, and also he's going back to her Defender's history, with like the notes to, like, comics books from years ago. This is it right here.
What issue are they up to on that?
This is issue 8.
Okay.
Yeah. Which means up to issue 5 is currently on Marvel Unlimited.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Murd, this one's for you.
Thanos Quest.
All right, so this is the reprinting
of which I had never read.
Okay.
Really?
And I remember you'd always told me this is like the key story before Infinity Gauntlet.
Mm-hmm. It's also kind of key to Thanos' character.
Yes. First of all, kind of like with McNiven, I almost forgotten how amazing an artist Ron Lim is, because I haven't seen his work in a long time.
Excuse me.
And how well acquainted his work is with cosmic tales like this. I mean, he did Silver Surfer, for example. This is Starlin writing at the peak of his powers. And anyone who's a Thanos fan, whether from the comics, the movies, or both, if you haven't read this story, this is crucial. Like, this is a key installment in the whole history of the character.
Can I just comment real quick, though, on how much of a, rap album pose Thanos is in on this cover for Thanos Quest? He's about to drop a new demo tape, like any second now. Like, you can tell.
Straight out of Titan.
And, so glad Murd's here. But, It's got.
Drops his gauntlet.
I mean, this is a Murd book. You've got, the elders of the universe. You've got, all the gems, not the stones, Murd, the gems.
Thank you, sir.
And how he acquires them. Absolutely essential reading, and holds up really well. Like this does not feel like a dated book. It's wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Nice.
Murd, thanks for the tip there. Holy crap, this is creepy.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Spider-Man Spider Shadow, the Chip Zdarsky miniseries.
Yes. So the premise here, it's actually, I didn't realize this. It is actually under the What If banner.
Oh,
which I didn't realize.
See, they didn't really advertise that
they didn't.
Going in.
So it's officially a What If, which is wonderful.
Sure.
So the gist is Spider-Man keeps the alien suit. And then what do you think happens?
yeah.
Bad things, very, very bad things.
Plus, it's got one of my all-time favorite villains in it.
Oh, the Hobgoblin,
Hobgoblin.
Yep.
So it's right in that 1980s era,
Yep.
which, by the way, we'll be talking about in the not-too-distant future.
Yes, indeed. And also, look at how awesome that What If banner is. Just like, it's very subtle, very simple.
Yeah.
I'm digging it. I hope that's that's also what the banner looks like for the Marvel Disney Plus series.
Which
That's
will
right.
probably also be spinning out of Loki, kind of think of it.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you're a Spider-Man fan, and like if you love Zdarsky's work on Spider-Man Life Story, which was amazing.
Oh, that's amazing.
Greatest Spider-Man stories I've read in years.
Yep.
This is also shaping up to be something of that caliber. And again, not to spoil it, but think of all the terrible things that could happen if Peter hadn't gotten rid of the costume. Yep. That's where it's going. So wonderful.
When does that Fantastic Four series come out? Sorry, speaking Zdarsky.
I was about to talk about the first issue of that as well.
Life Story did come out. Okay,
Yes.
excellent.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have it with me, but I read it.
Okay.
So that's written by, I think, Mark Russell, I want to say.
That's the man.
Wonderful. So similar to the Spider-Man one, it starts in the 60s. And the premise is that they tie the space race into it again. And JFK goes to Reed Richards and says, look, the Russians got their cosmonaut orbiting the Earth. All our vessels are blown up with a launch pad. Can you make a spaceship for us so we can catch up in the space race? And then it goes from there. Excellent. Again, I don't want to spoil too much, but it's very much in the vein of what we saw with the Spidey book, like the same type of approach.
Mhm.
Obviously, it's going to be different because they're riffing off the history of the Fantastic Four, but all the key elements are there. I loved it, and I can't wait to read the second issue. And speaking of Fantastic Four, because I haven't read much of the Slott run. I love Slott, but it's not a series I just read. But I picked up the latest issue because it's the beginning of The Marriage of Doom. And wow. So I don't want to give away anything, but if you notice the promo art for that, it looks like the Fantastic Four is in Doom's wedding party. And you're wondering, like, how could that possibly be? But there's two stories in the book, both written by Slott, and he's setting up how that's actually going to happen and why it's going to happen. And it's wonderful. I mean, again, he captures so much the family feel of the FF. Murd will be pleased that Elijah is appearing in this story.
Yes.
So they're also exploring Johnny Storm's very sort of convoluted and problematic romantic history. They're even hinting at some possible, let's say, some Puppet Master legacy stuff going on here.
Okay.
So great. And the backup story, which I think is penciled by Javier Rodriguez, if I remember correctly. Awesome. Starts to explain why and how the FF are actually going to be part of Doom's wedding. I won't tell you who Doom's going to marry, but definitely read that. If you're a Twilight Zone fan,
The silver coin.
Notice the author again.
Oh, Zdarsky again.
Yep, this is why I got it. So this is a series where basically think of like the type of Twilight Zone episodes where someone gets like some kind of object that has power, but there's a price. And then object is then passed on to other people through time, and havoc ensues. So basically, this takes place in the 70s, Murd. Mm-hmm. And this guy's a struggling, talented rock musician who comes upon this coin that he then uses as a pick to play his guitar. And suddenly, it seems that he's on the verge of real stardom and success. But as always, there's a twist and there's a price. So if you like that type of story, and plus it's Zdarsky, pick that up. Now.
The Marvels.
I don't have to say much more, do I? Because look who's writing it.
I mean, yeah, it's Busiek and it's Marvels, and like enough said, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the one quick thing I would say is that it explores. Here, remember how we talked about, and we did the last Back to the Bins, we did the Daredevil Brother Take My Hand story, right? So that's in it. So they're exploring the Marvel history of Vietnam and how it also involves Reed Richards. Awesome.
Wow.
Enough said there.
You have been on a reading.
Yes. You're not kidding. Holy
well,
smokes.
I'm trying. You know, I'm sure listeners, you know, appreciate his.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, I love it.
The Old Guard, Tales Through Time. So I've talked many times in the air about the great Rucka Fernandez story of the near immortal warriors who live through time and how they try to navigate that and what happens to them. And there was the great Netflix movie, Charlize Theron, which I thought was a wonderful adaptation, which Rucka actually wrote, which is probably why it was good. This takes the obvious path of, well, let's pursue stories with these characters because they live through all these different centuries. Enough said there. Great. Can't recommend that enough. Now, I don't have it with me, but the latest issue of Radiant Black, which I've been praising a few so in the show.
Let me guess, it was great.
Well, it's so great that forgive me, I have to curse here. Holy shit. So, you know how in like let's call them the corporate the corporate titles where they can only do so much but they really can't change a lot of things, and you know, a lot of times things go back to the way they were, people don't actually die and things of that nature. So in this series, let's put it this way, when we do our nominations and Murd has like his moment of the year, it's only June, but it's probably going to be for me Radiant Black issue 4, because yes, there is change so dramatic and drastic that everything you thought you knew about the series is just turned on its head completely.
So what you're saying, it's an Invincible moment then.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Which I have not read yet. That's one of my summer duties, Ian.
Okay.
But although I kind of know just through hearing things what you mean about Invincible, but yes, it's that kind of moment.
Yeah.
So this book, which is clearly in the complete control of Kyle Higgins, is the most exciting superhero comic I've read in years, and should be mandatory reading for anyone who loves the superhero concept.
I'm picking up volume 1. That's definitely going to happen.
Excellent. And the last thing I want to point out, because I have to mention Tomorrow's. So Alter Ego, Roy Thomas's fanzine, they dedicate a whole issue to Gary Friedrich. Now, if you're not familiar with Gary Friedrich, or let's give him his bullpen nickname, Groovy Gary Friedrich from the 60s. I knew Murd would appreciate that especially. He was one of the excellent Murd. He and Roy Thomas were friends since they were young in Jackson, Missouri. They actually played in a rock band together in the early 60s. And when Roy Thomas worked at Marvel, he brought Friedrich over with him. And Friedrich became, after Stan Lee and Roy, one of the first Marvel writers, essentially. And he wrote a host of stuff. He's the co-creator of Ghost Rider, the Flaming Skull Ghost Rider. He wrote a celebrated run on Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos. Did a lot of other writing in the 60s and 70s. And he died a couple of years ago, and Roy Thomas gives a lengthy interview. And let me tell you, whenever I see a Roy Thomas interview, I put everything else down. I read it immediately because, again, his insights, his memories of that fertile time in the beginnings of Marvel. I mean, no one else gives interviews the way he does. And I mean, his book, like in the Alter Ego, he's got it is from the 60s, the 70s. He takes you through his entire career in different issues. And here he's remembering about his whole life and his friendship with Friedrich. It's a wonderful interview. And he references, and I've mentioned the show a few times over the years. I'll mention again. Gary Friedrich gave probably, I would say for me, the most compelling interview I've ever read by a comic creator.
Oh, wow.
In the now defunct Comic Book Artist issue 13, which I have in my library,
Mhm.
May 2001. Gary Friedrich was a recovering alcoholic. And in this interview, which he gave 20 years ago, he talks in great depth about his experiences in the bullpen, in Marvel in the 60s and 70s, and also his struggles with alcoholism. It's a powerful interview. Very forthright, very frank. And Thomas, then gives his own perspective on, their experience. And I'd forgotten that one of the apartments they lived together in their early years as part of the Marvel company in the 60s was 177A Bleecker Street.
Yes. Yep.
I forgot that was one of their apartments that they lived in together.
For the uninitiated, is the address of Dr. Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum.
With those amazing windows.
Yep. So Alter Ego 169, again, I can't recommend enough just the service that these publications do in capturing the history of the comics and the creators behind them. Phew. All right. That's what I got for this time.
Well, excellent. Clearly, we need a break.
Well, some of us do.
Some of us are under the gun.
Amazing.
Love it. It is time once again for Muddle the Murd here on Comic Geek Speak. And let's turn to the Murd for more, shall we?
Oh, I think we shall. All right, folks, you are now hearing Muddle the Murd, which is our comic book trivia segment here on Comic Geek Speak, and it's an opportunity for you, the listeners, to participate and maybe win a fabulous prize in the process. If you'd like to be a part of Muddle the Murd, what you need to do is come up with 3 comic book trivia questions, which you will ask of me, the Murd. You need 1 Marvel question, 1 DC question, and 1 question about some other publisher other than those 2. You also need to break these questions down chronologically into 1 question about comics pre-1970, 1 question about comics published between 1970 and 2000 inclusive, and 1 question about comics post-2000. Please, nothing too esoteric. It needs to be a question that's germane to the plot and or characters of the comics in which they appear. Nothing about the fine background details of a panel, nothing about the advertising or letters pages or anything like that. Just, something that gets to the meat of the story and the characters and so forth. Nothing too picayune. So come up with 3 questions that answer these criteria and email them to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com with Muddle the Murd in the subject line. Don't forget to provide the answers to the questions, otherwise we won't know if you've muddled me or not. Ian, our quizmaster, will then ask them of me, and if I get all 3 of them wrong, you will then have muddled the Murd. And I will, at my own expense, then mail you a prize. And we're kind of between prizes at this point. I don't happen to have the next prize in the room with me. It's still in my car, but it is, and I don't remember the title of it, but it's a graphic novel that's basically a mathematical murder mystery. It's kind of math noir. It's those of you who are of a certain age and remember Square One television on PBS, it's kind of like a more adult version of MathNet. Yes, it's called Parallel Figures or something like that. But anyway, that's what you'll be getting if you Muddle the Murd today.
I have not thought of the MathNet in the longest time, and I appreciate you so much right now, Murd. That's excellent.
The story you're about to see is a fib, but it's short. Names are made up, but the problems are real.
Yes. Right back to my childhood.
And I thought you were going to be a little bit more villainous when you said the Murd.
I'm not going to vilify myself, Shane.
That's what struck me as odd, but I thought, hey.
Well, today we go to Canada for this one.
Canada.
Yep. Oh, Canada. And Conrad Odie is the name of the individual who is attempting to muddle the Murd. And we start off with a question from DC. And this is a pre-1970s DC question. As I go ahead and zoom in a little bit here so I can read the text a little better. Here we are. All right, here we go. Wonder Woman first appeared as a backup in All-Star Comics number 8. This question is not about her. The cover boasts that 2 new members win their spurs in this new book-length adventure of the Justice Society of America. Who are these 2 new members?
Starman and Dr. Midnight.
Ring-a-ding-ding. Bring it home early.
Sorry. No offense, Conrad, but I didn't really want to have to mail a prize to you because international postage rates right now are whoosh.
Yes. And I mind you, there is a bonus question that I will wind up asking you at some point, because this is actually the second pre-1970 question Conrad submitted as the first one we deemed unworthy, but I will ask it nonetheless.
That was like a knockout in the first round. My God.
So good. As a bonus pre-1970 question, the first comic cover where Superman and Batman appeared together was New York World's Fair Comics in 1940. Who is the artist of this comic book?
Oh boy. Huh,
that's a good question. Yeah. 1940.
Yep.
Mort Meskin.
Jack Burnley.
Oh, okay. Wow. Who was also the artist who created or co-created Ted Knight.
So there you go. Okay.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and the two questions wind up tying together in the end. So go through. All right.
Good question.
Yes, excellent question. All right, here we are, 1970 to 2000 Marvel. In the backup story of Amazing Spider-Man 220, The Nursing Home Caper, starring Aunt May, how does Peter's aunt help nab the thief who stole the money raised from the nursing home dance?
I don't remember. God.
Released Ms. Lion?
She... I don't know. She sets up a sting operation by the catch box. I don't know.
Well, while I wish it was she released a nuclear weapon from her nuclear island, the correct answer...
She definitely owns, right?
Yes, exactly. The correct answer is the thief has Aunt May hostage, but she fakes a heart attack and he lets her go. With Aunt May out of danger, the band supplying the music for the dance are able to grab the thief.
So Aunt May takes advantage of the fact that she's normally very frail and on death's door.
Yeah,
is an expert at being near death.
Yep. All right, and our final question here: post 2000 Independence, in Scott Pilgrim and the Infinite Sadness, bringing that back around, previously mentioned last episode.
Yep.
Scott Pilgrim has to race Todd Ingram, Ramona's third evil ex, through what once famous Toronto landmark?
Crazy Ed's bargain store.
Ooh, you are so close. You are so close. Try a different first word. You got Ed right.
Thrifty Ed?
All right, I was going to give you two shots. There we go. First off, Crazy Ed would be Crazy Eddie back here in New York.
Oh, God.
Yep. Sure would.
Now I'm watching Channel 11 as a kid. Holy
His prices are insane. But the correct answer here is Honest Ed's. So
Honest Ed's. Okay.
Clearly he's the second cousin twice removed of Crazy Eddie.
Yeah, and you know, after the last Toronto Fan Expo I attended, Paul French and Big Jim and I enjoyed a quote-unquote Philly cheesesteak at a little bistro with watercress on it, no less. Just a block or two away from Honest Ed.
Watercress.
Oh, no.
I've seen the place in person, so I really should have remembered the actual name. So.
Ugh.
I apologize, Conrad, to you and all your countrymen everywhere for not getting that one right.
Oh, boy. Well... a valiant effort, Conrad, and by technicality, not a win, but we do thank you so much for your contributions here, and please do try again, as these were excellent questions. So,
absolutely,
job well done all around. Yeah, the only reason why we didn't accept the initial one is we felt the New York World's Fair comics was a little too obscure. And that's why we rejected it in the first place. But do keep these answers coming. And we'll be happy to attempt a muddle in the future. So, job well done.
All right.
Good.
So we mentioned Ted Knight. Shane.
Yes.
Did you happen to see one of the leaks from the upcoming season of Stargirl?
No, I've stayed away, not necessarily intentionally, but I have not seen anything.
Well, let's just say you'll be happy.
If you have a picture or something, go right ahead.
Well, I do. Let me find it. Let me find it yet again. As yeah, your boy's showing up. It's we don't know in what fashion, but there were definitely a few leaks from the set, and one of them is pretty darn obvious that it's going to be Jack Knight on Stargirl.
My stars and garters.
Oh, I don't know how it's going to wind up working in, because I'm sure.
Who cares?
Exactly. We don't care either. But if I can find the picture again, I will. But I did find it a couple days ago. Somebody posted it to my Twitter feed, and I was immediately like, "Oh my God, he's going to have a heart attack."
Given the way the staff is portrayed in that show, all I want is for when Jack shows up for the staff to go over and kind of rub up, oh my God, hi dad.
Right.
Or something like that.
Puppy that's reunited with its long-lost original owner.
Yep.
Oh my God, yes. And I'm so looking forward to that series too. We're only a few weeks away now.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Ian, because I still have to finish it. Because I didn't finish it over the summer, and I know it's on HBO Max, so I can rip through it. But
yes, it is, and it will be on both HBO Max and the CW as it's premiering.
Was it 10 episodes?
The first season, I believe so.
Okay, so I can finish up pretty quickly then. Yeah, good.
Yeah,
because I watched about half of it. So.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm literally scrolling through my Twitter feed now to try to find it, and if I do, I will bring it up. But it was a very striking image.
I am woefully behind on many of the DC CW TV shows, but I plan on catching up over the summer and getting ready for Stargirl in the August.
Yep.
Wow.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, I appreciate that there's this much to still watch during the summer, because I mean, once upon a time it was when you caught up on shows, because that was all that was when it was time. But we have Legends of Tomorrow just started up again. Okay, I found it. Here we go. It's a blur. It's a bit blurry, but it's sure. If it's anybody else, then I'll eat my hat, because this looks about right.
Oh,
it sure does.
Yep. And we'll find out more in a few weeks.
And that looks like, now tell me if I'm not wrong, but doesn't that look like one of the other Starmen's cosmic rods? I guess maybe that's before special effects.
Yeah, that's literally just like a light bulb.
Yeah, because I was thinking there were a few that were just very plain cosmic rods too, thinking like maybe he had another version of it, but wow.
All right.
Yep.
Boy, that'll be something. Holy smokes.
All right.
And it better be called Times Past. That better be the name of the episode.
Oh, absolutely.
Nights Past.
Which was the name of his shop, right?
Yeah.
We're getting a lot more JSA members this season too, from all the news that I've been hearing out there too. So
they got to pay off that pink pen.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't get that last season. I was disappointed.
By the way, Ian, speaking of JSA, I'm so grateful that you put up that top 5 JSA episode.
Yes.
For 2 reasons. One, I had listened to an episode with Jamie in it for so long.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to hear him in his element and at the top of his game.
Yep.
And second, it makes me want to go back and read the JSA series. I haven't read it in years.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And I want to go back, get the trades, and read it again.
Such a great series.
Yeah, no, I was looking for top 5s, and immediately when I saw that one, I'm like, all right, it's definitely well worth bringing out there into the fold. And I mean, for anybody who's not gone back into the archives, now they've heard Jamie, so that's all that matters to me. Really.
And I love the interaction that happened on the Facebook group from that too. Like, would Adam and I change our picks? And I went through and found them all. I'm like, nope, they're still the same for me.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
Adam, any reads from you of late?
Well, I'm down in Stone Harbor now, so I suddenly find myself with a lot more opportunity to read. So I continue to churn through, stuff from mid-2005. But in addition to a couple of sacks worth, skimmed off the top of my colossal to-be-read pile, at the beginning of the summer, I always like to dip into my assembled complete run boxes and to do a little bit of reading with that. And so I've got a couple of the late 80s series that I'm just now working my way through in order. One of them is the post-crisis classic Roy and Dan Thomas written Young All-Stars series.
Nice.
Yep, the post-crisis successor to the late lamented All-Star Squadron. And the magic is not quite the same, but it's still pretty powerful. I'm enjoying. I'm about 7 issues in, and I'm liking it a lot more than I thought I would. Like issue number 7, in true like lighthearted Golden Age style, it's mostly taken up with like an actual baseball game being played between a few members of the All-Star Squadron proper and its junior annex, the stars of the new series. Which is made up of younger characters whom Royan has taken as like analogs for those Earth 2 heroes who were wished out of existence by Crisis. So the central cast is Iron Monroe, who is a stand-in for the pre-Crisis Golden Age Superman. Tsunami and Neptune Perkins, who are standing in for the Golden Age Aquaman, and so on. So it's like younger hero. It's kind of both trying to pick up it with a new flavor from where the All-Star Squadron left off, and also kind of trying to tap into the then current vogue for young hero teams as per the new Teen Titans, which was the hottest thing going for most of the 80s. So that's kind of where he was going with the young All-Stars. But he actually has like young and old All-Star members playing an exhibition baseball game in Yankee Stadium to benefit a scrap drive.
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah, that's fun so far. And also, I'm about 12 issues into a late 80s Marvel series near and dear to my heart that I have yet to read in its entirety. Speaking of Mark Gruenwald, Quasar. Yes, I'm up to issue 12, which is the start of the Journey into Mystery storyline, guest starring, to tie things into another topic of this episode, the Squadron Supreme, which are also, not a creation of Mark Gruenwald, but he did so much with them, he basically recreated them for his own purposes. Yep. So yeah, that series goes in a lot of fun cosmic directions too, and it lasted for like 60 issues, so there's a lot of fun twists and turns ahead there. But one other thing that I read recently, and this is a long overdue thanks because this is something that was gifted to me from one of our longest-standing benefactors of the show, Dr. Eamon Clark over in the UK.
Very nice.
He always likes to send us through the post the collected editions from 2000 AD and other British comics. And a couple years ago, he really hit the jackpot with me when he sent me one of Grant Morrison's earliest works. Probably his first work done in the straight superhero genre before DC discovered him and imported him. It was a series called Zenith, which was serialized in 2000 AD. And he sent me the first volume, or phase as they call it, of Zenith a couple years ago, and I talked about it on the show. He has since sent me the other 3 phases in the series, so I've got the complete collection. Here it is.
Nice.
Zenith. This is phase 4. Of 4, and it's Morrison. It's some of his earliest work with superheroes, as I said, and it's also characteristically weird. You can kind of sense his intellectual restlessness too, because he kind of bounces from one classic superhero trope to another and just kind of picks them apart as he goes. The central character, Zenith, is just this the one constant in this series. Even as Morrison flits from one superhero concept to another, Zenith remains the constant because he's always such a self-absorbed, hedonistic little prat. The basic conceit is this superhero meets pop star, and so he's this wholly self. All he ever thinks about is parties and chart placements and Q ratings. All he's concerned about is his own career as a musician. The costume and the powers are all just kind of strictly subordinate to that. And he's got an agent who is this elderly Scottish homosexual who was always pushing him to do this or that thing just for the sake of his image, going out and save people and just trying to get him out of himself and failing constantly. Because the end of the universe and the multiverse can't successfully get Zenith to take something other than himself seriously. So Morrison is doing all these fun things with superhero ideas. He's got this race of elder gods called the Loigor, who are always trying to reach the dimensional walls and cause all kinds of mischief. They're the recurring antagonists. And they come so close to bringing about multiversal megadeath, and everybody thinks briefly that Zenith sacrificed himself to defeat them, but it turns out it was just a nicer, more more traditionally heroic alternate universe version of him that does that. It turns out that Zenith has just been hiding in the break room the whole time having a Perrier.
Wow, that's the weirdest issue of Dragonfly Man and Dragonfly I've ever experienced.
There is a connection, actually. You can sort of see it. But that happened in Phase 3, which is the best of the 4, I would say, because it's straight up a crisis story. It's this massive crossover between a bunch of characters from different parallel universes, or alternatives, as Morrison calls them, that they're brought together by an alternate universe version of the Superman archetype of all of this, a guy called Maxi-Man, who got injected with basically a super soldier serum back in the 40s. In Zenith's universe, he died during World War II. In this other universe, he survives and basically evolves beyond a human level of thought, and he gains mind over matter powers, and basically goes mad as a ferret, and begins... He comes out in a scene very reminiscent of the Monitor satellite scenes from Crisis on Infinite Earths. He comes out to address the assembled heroes of many different alternatives, some of which Morrison created himself, and others are actual British comic book characters from decades past that 2000 AD and its parent company happened to own. So people like Ace Heart and Captain Miracle and Steel Claw, and even a version of Robot Archie, who is a British classic, called Acid Archie. So he's kind of tripped out. Robot Archie, the acid anarchist android. Funny stuff. So anyway, this group of characters are there to find out how they can save the multiverse from the Loigor, and this crazy version of Maxi-Man comes out wearing nothing under his cape. He uses words randomly and forgets what they mean because he's been meditating on his alone in isolation for 20 years. And so he's just delightfully mad. And... these characters have to break into teams and go to different alternatives, and Maxi-Man tells them that yes, they must go to these universes and destroy everything on them. Thank you. In order to prune a couple of diseased branches of the multiverse to keep the Loigor from taking over is the conceit. And so it's kind of grueling, and it doesn't have very much to do with Zenith at all, because as I said earlier, he's basically hiding for the whole thing. But it's fun reading for the Crisis-ophile in the audience, and I'm sure Peter and I will talk about it on the Crisis tapes eventually. Yes,
eventually.
It's Morrison being weird and experimental with superheroes in one of his first attempts to do that, just before he broke through at DC. Phase 4 actually was kind of an afterthought, because it came like 3 or 4 years after the last Zenith story. He'd already broken through at DC. He'd kind of lost interest in the whole Zenith concept, but contractually he was dragged back into doing it. And he later remarked that he was kind of pleased with the results, because he tends to like the stories that he's forced to produce under duress. So Phase 4, the only one of the 4 that's in color, I might add. The others are all in classic 80s black and white. It brings the story to something of a conclusion. Zenith doesn't change at all, doesn't learn any lessons, of course, but at least it ties off some pre-existing plot threads. He likes to explore generation gap stuff, because Zenith is clearly a Generation X character, and he's the son of a bunch of 60s hippies superhumans that existed in the UK in the 60s. And then, of course, there's the World War II stuff with Maxi-Man. So it explores the friction that's generated between different ages of superhero comics and different generations of human beings. And just talking about how one of the members of the 60s clique of superheroes grows up to become a Tory conservative minister in British politics, and it's timely, it's topical, it does a lot of fun, weird things, and also some pretty deft social commentary thrown in the middle of it all. So yes, if you're a fan of Grant Morrison and you're unfamiliar with one of his earlier works in the superhero genre, check out Zenith. And thank you very much, Eamon, for sharing all of this with me, because I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, no, it's very, very cool. And I mean, I legitimately never even heard of Zenith before, and I'm happy to hear of it now because it sounds cuckoo bananas.
Yeah. It is a little bit, yeah. I mean, it's not the weirdest Morrison stuff you'll ever have read, but it's weird enough to qualify. Oh, and also a shout out to Steve Yoel, who is the artist for every single page of this stuff, I'm pretty sure. He's a frequent Morrison collaborator early in his career.
Very good. Very cool. All right, Shayna, anything from you?
Well, I didn't read much. I have to get back on track. I was doing so good last year up until September, October, and then got off the rails, and I have not gotten back on like I want to catch up on things. But I do want to do a little bit of World of Toys talk, because there's been a lot that's come out. Some of it's comic related, some of it's not. first thing is there's always such a scramble to get G.I. Joe figures that are Target exclusives. And I know I held this up in the beginning. It's Major Blood. Was finally able to get it. They're getting restocks of it at Target. And I can attest to that because I went on a post I saw on a G.I. Joe forum I belong to. Somebody said from the Allentown area, hey, I just found some Major Bloods at my store through the app and you could order it to pick up, which is almost unheard of. So this is like 10 o'clock last night. I go through the app, I hit it and I'm like, oh my God, the one 7 miles away from me has them. So I hit order. And then this morning at like 8 o'clock, I got a notice saying your order's ready. So Ben was kind enough to go mosey on out there while I was at work. Lo and behold, there it was. I couldn't believe it. So that was exciting. Last week was Yo Joe June Fan Friday event that Hasbro announced. And
say that 3 times fast, please.
Yeah. Yo Joe June. And they announced a 4th version of Roadblock, which is a little bit strange to have 4 versions of Roadblock in like a 30 individual figure run. But this one looks more classic. It's the orange pants, camo shirt with a big artillery gun. Now, the gun's not right for what I would have liked, but the figure still looks amazing. So that went up for pre-order as a general release. Then they announced another Snake Eyes, which again, this is like the 4th Snake Eyes or something that we're getting. However, unlike the one that you have, Chris, which is sort of like the version 2 Snake Eyes, this is the Commando version, the first one with the kind of goggles.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And it comes with Timber. A fully articulated Timber with an exchangeable head for a vicious looking. It looks amazing, and that just went up for pre-order today on multiple sites as more of a general release. Then they announced 2 more Target exclusive, which made everybody cringe. One is Barbecue, and one is Breaker with a Ram cycle.
Breaker,
yes,
wow.
Which looks
very
awesome.
Old school. Wow.
So I'm looking forward to both of those. What's that?
There was a Joe called Barbecue?
Yep. Yeah, he was a firefighter.
He was a firefighter.
Gabriel, oh gosh, I forget his last name. I'm pretty sure Gabriel's his first name.
Yeah.
But it looks amazing. It looks very classic. So something that we've noticed, Joe collector kind of people, is that for how these first figures came out, they were a little bit more fantastical than what you would think for Joe characters. Like I always thought Joes were based in more reality of army, armed forces. Cobra was more fantastical. Well, these newer Joe figures were a little bit more sci-fi to begin with, but it seems like they're course correcting that and coming back to more traditionally inspired characters. So I'm very curious to see what happens from here, hoping that with the ease of finding Major Blood as it's now coming out more and more, that Barbecue and Breaker will be much easier to find. And they're also re-releasing the first wave of the Cobra Island figures from Target, which was a Cobra Island Roadblock, Beachhead, a Cobra Infantry Soldier, which is more like an officer, and the Baroness on some kind of funky Cobra cycle. But they were so hard to get and so limited that to re-release them, I hope they're plentiful for those who missed it to get it, which would be great. So that was a lot of good G.I. Joe news that came out. At almost the same time, McFarlane Toys doing these DC figures announced 1960s inspired Batman figures.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Batman, a Robin, a Joker, a Batmobile, and then a Batcave playset where you have the atomic power plant that's inside the Batcave. The figures look a little bit off. They could be prototypes, so I'm hoping that that might get worked out. The Joker actually looked fantastic, but Batman and Robin just looked a little off. The big grab is the playset. We've never gotten a Batcave playset like this. It just looks amazing from the pictures I saw. So I'm really hoping that that looks great. Yeah, that's exactly it. Now, my problem is Robin's face is a little bit pudgy to me.
Yeah.
Batman looks a little bit too broad, and this is totally nitpicky. His belt buckle, it's not raised, it's just embossed on his belt buckle. But Cesar Romero's Joker looks fantastic. The Batmobile looks great. That's the playset. And if that's what it comes at, you can see 2 little hinges on each side of the power plant.
Mm-hmm.
it just looks fantastic. So I really have high hopes for this.
I really hope that you can see the mustache.
I hope so too, because that is one thing Mattel did very well.
Yes,
You
they
could
did.
see the mustache on Mattel's version of this from like almost 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago now. So that's awesome to see that. I mean, I have a few of the McFarlane DC figures, not many. They're not my favorite. I know a lot of people love them. I like the Mattel DC line that came out a few years ago and ended, like from the early 2000s or gosh, whenever it started, 2005, I think. So that's cool. Then Super 7, which is more of a fancier toy company, I should say. Like they limit their toys. They have niche properties. They announced a resurgence of Silverhawks toys from the old cartoon. They look really good. Now their prices, they have the Turtles line as does NECA, so they're constantly battling back and forth with turtle figures. But each, whether it's NECA Turtles or Super 7, they're both about $50-$60 a piece. Well, the NECA ones are $50 for 2. The Super 7 are $50. They're like 7-8 inch tall ones. These Silverhawks look really good, but they're $55 a piece for 3 of them. I think one of them's $80 because it's bigger. That's a bit pricey for an action figure.
Yeah, I'll say.
They look great.
Yeah, I like the look of them a lot, but
yeah,
my problem is that the Silverhawks always just seemed like they were not the Thundercats to me when I was a kid.
Wait,
like,
then that's $50?
Yeah. Now it's a bigger figure.
Huh.
And my problem is I wanted them, and maybe the main Quicksilver is, I kind of wanted them to see some sort of vac metalized like you used to get in the 70s and 80s. It's I don't know if it's very hard to do that these days or if it's very expensive to do, but things that should be vac metalized really aren't at all. But that was still kind of a neat announcement that I had not heard anything about. The final thing I want to talk about is 2 Lego sets. One is the Friends Apartments, Chandler and Joey and Monica and Rachel's apartments. It's a neat set. I actually got it for me and Ben to put together this summer sometime. That should be a lot of fun. We got Central Perk whenever it came out and he put that together. And I helped a little bit, but the Friends Apartments kind of look neat, so it should be fun. The other one, which I have to figure out what to sell to be able to afford, is the Daily Bugle. It is a multi-story Daily Bugle. It comes with like 25 or 30 figures from Marvel's universe. It is an amazing looking set. And it's sort of geared to be their Lego City kind of thing where you have modular buildings. You can pull each floor off. On the Daily Bugle, you can pull the back off so you see all the offices. It has some neat effects. It's got a great Daily Bugle banner. It comes with a lot of neat figures.
How much is it going for?
I think 300. It's just amazing for a Lego set. And it's the tallest Marvel set like this. They've never done a superhero modular build. The closest you have to it, I think, in my opinion, is the Ghostbusters Firehouse, when you can put it in with all their other modular buildings, like the City Hall, the Emporium.
And is that Daredevil on the front there?
It's Daredevil in the front. Yep.
And they have me at the in joke on Scarlet Spider there on the board, because I see there
Miles Warren the side eye there.
Exactly. Yep. Kirk Connors, Miles Warren, and Scarlet Spider. I love it.
Yeah.
Colon epidemic out of control. Is Spider-Man to blame?
If you get a chance, look up all their figures. I don't have it up for me. I know Ian might have a picture of it there, but it's just absolutely amazing, the amount of figures that come with it. It looks like a really neat set to build. I had no idea. I didn't hear anything about it. I go on Lego sites a couple times a week just to see what's out there. Just an amazing thing when it was announced. It's really phenomenal.
Yeah, I've got the other 2 stories real quick. So let me just bring up. This is story 2. Rhino escapes from zoo. And then here is the third one, if I can get that. Here we go. This is story 3 with Peter and the Spider-Man picture in the background and all that jazz. So
Ian, was the previous image that's supposed to be Robertson and Jameson?
Yep. Well, Robertson, yes. Jameson is in it.
That doesn't look like
fairly
Jameson.
Certain.
Yeah.
You also get Firestar, which is really neat.
Oh, that's probably Uric. Now that I think about it, that's probably Uric, not
Uric. Yep.
not Jonah, not Jameson. Yeah,
but it's
right.
a really neat set.
Yep. Very
Shane,
very
great,
cool.
great World of Toys field report.
Yeah. Oh, just a great couple weeks of announcements.
Yep.
Well done.
Absolutely. And I have some other things to talk about, but I'm going to share that on our next comic talk, which may very well come soon thereafter this one.
Indeed.
If things work out correctly. So
very true.
Yep, we'll go ahead and keep that in the coffer for now, and basically have this thing come to an end so that we can all get our beauty rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
But super glad you were able to join us, Murd. And
amen to that.
And I cannot wait for us to cover the rest of Loki once it's all out, and then all have our fan reactions.
And is Loki 6 or 8 episodes?
It is 6.
It's 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, it's 6, and I also wouldn't be shocked if the last episode is a little bit longer, like they've been doing. So
well, that's what I kind of hope out of it.
Exactly. Yep. Alrighty, we're once again sponsored by you, the listeners, over at patreon.com/comicgeekspeak. So thank you so much for your continued support. And anybody who would prefer to do old school donations can still just head to the Comic Geek Speak website and go to our donate button. The PayPal still works, and we'll leave the light on for you as always. So thank you so much for your support of the show. Shane, you ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Visit us at comicgeekspeak.com to send us an email. The address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. To leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. Stop by thecomicforums.vanillacommunity.com. Let us know what you think of Loki and all the topics we cover today. Visit us at youtube.com/comicgeekspeak and watch the video version. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Thanks to everyone who contributes to the episode. Send in the Muddle the Murds. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
Ian of the Prime Universe signing off.
Each part out, robot chicken.